A construction crew is lengthening a road. Let L be the total length of the road in miles. Let D be the number of days the crew has worked. Suppose that the length of the total road equals 4 times the number of days the crew worked plus 400. Gives L as a function of D. The crew can work at most 80 days. Identify the correct description of the values in both the domain and range of the function. If you remember from our independent and dependent variable topic, you already know the difference between domain and range. Independent variables typically are your x variables, your input, and your domain. Dependent variables are typically your y variables, your output, and your range. Remember, dependent is what it equals. So in this example, L equals, this is our dependent variable, which makes it our range. Whereas the 4D plus 400, the D is our input or our domain. So answering the domain question, we already know. The domain is going to be our D, which is the number of days the crew has worked. Thus, our range is going to be the length of the road in miles. Now, the set of values means which numbers make sense. What do I mean by that? Let's just say, for argument's sake, that our domain was the number of crew members. Can you have half a person working? Not realistically. So our set of values wouldn't make sense to have fractions in it. Can the crew work negative days? Not realistically. Therefore, your set of values should be positive, or at least 0, because they work in 0 days. That's what the set of value means. So let's check it out. We have the set of all real numbers from 4 to 400. All real numbers basically means all your whole numbers, all your decimals and your fractions, things like that. Can you work a fraction of a day? Sure. A fraction of a day is just an hour or a minute, so you can work fractions of a day, so all real numbers seems to make sense. We just have to determine whether or not it's going to be 4 to 400 or 400 to 720. Or 0 to 80. These brackets means only count those numbers within it. So when it says 80, 81, 82, 83, ... the pattern is +1, so they're just saying a full day between 80 and infinity. The second example down here, this one, is saying between 80 and 720 days, but only whole days. And the last one is saying between 0 and 400 days, but only whole days. All three of those options in the bottom are incorrect because you can work a fraction of a day. You don't have to work a full 24 hours to the dot. You can work 23 hours, which is just 23 over 24ths of a day. And so on and so forth. So the bracket answers are not the appropriate set of values for the number of days the crew has worked. The problem says the crew can work at most 80 days. Using our inequality skills, we know the days worked are going to be less than or equal to 80. And because days can't be negative, we understand that 0 is the smallest amount of days that can be worked. So, which one of these makes sense? 4 to 400? No. 400 to 720 is way too large, so it has to be from 0 to 80. Now, the range says what numbers make sense in terms of the length of a road in miles. Just like with the domain in this problem, your miles can be fractional. You can have a road that's 440 and a half miles, so on and so forth. So let's check out our values. Well, let's check out our equation first before we check out our values. We know that our days worked can be between 0 and 80. So let's check what happens to our length in miles if our domain equals those things. So if the crew works 0 days, our length equals 4 times 0 plus 400, or just 400 miles. So basically, if the crew does not work, the length of the road will still be at least 400 miles. So we have now, what happens if the crew works the maximum amount of time that they can, which is 80 days? Then we'll end up with L equals 4 times 80 plus 400, or L equals 4 times 80 will give you 320 plus 400, which is 720 miles. So our road can be anywhere between 400 miles if the crew works 0 days, and 720 miles if the crew works the full maximum of 80 days. So, which one of these answers is between 400 and 720? Well, the only one that is between 400 and 720 would be this option right here. The one that makes sense is the second one, to set up all real numbers between 400 and 720. And that's how you complete problems like this. You identify your domain, which is your independent variable, your range, which is your dependent variable. You would find the inequality that fits both your domain and your range. In this case, our domain is anywhere between 0 and 80 days, because a crew can't work negative days and they can work at most 80 days. And based on our domain, our range would be between 400 and 720. Sure, there's some math in this, probably more than you might expect, but once you know how to do the math, problem like this becomes simple.